Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 79 of Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings have a home. All right, so jumping in here, we do have our main question of the show for episode 79. Are the Red Wings better than last year? So what we're going to talk about today is some interviews that Steve Yzerman has had and dissect what that means for Tyler Bertuzzi. But then we're also going to go into a comparison of the Red Wings' moves and what Steve Yzerman's been able to do and compare that with the rest of the NHL. And there's two different ways to dissect. Are we better? Are we going to win more games, or are we going to move up in the standings? A very long-winded conversation in regards to what other teams are doing. And we also wrap it up of, would you rather be in one team situation or another? And I think we'll go into maybe the idea that a lot of people would agree with, but at least we're going to come at it with our regular old Red Wings rant way of falling into a solution and a reason why it makes sense. So strap in. We're going to jump into a quick ad here, but enjoy the rest of the show thereafter as we try to figure out, are the Red Wings better than they were last year?
Oh, hi there. Pleased to meet you. My name is Tom Franklin, one half of the Blue Notes podcast and the Hockey Podcast Network. We've got that 2019 Stanley Cup power too sweet to be sour, and we're also your home for the best Blues analysis.
Yes, it's a Bruin, but he's going to help the power play, and that's what people need to understand. And they're going to look at it and say, oh well, Justin Falk was supposed to help the power play as well. Torrey Krug is legitimately going to help the power play.
Felt like Newport was ready to go into this offseason and use Pietrangelo as an example and say, okay, we're going to play chicken here with the COVID cap here. Someone is going to give Pietrangelo his money. We also have great guests from here at home. St. Louis Post-Dispatch, St. Louis Blues beat writer Jim Thomas, the organist for the St. Louis Blues, Jeremy Boyer, and around the world.
Yo, Blues fans, it's Gerard, the Dutch Blues fan, all the way from the Netherlands.
And no other podcast can say they have a Hawaiian hockey correspondent, but we do.
Aloha! I'm Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, and this is my Aloha commentary.
Plus, a little self-deprecating humor thrown in there. One of our new Blue Note Selkie level COVID mask, if I can turn it the right way there so I can properly sell it. I am failing my Price is Right model audition right here. This is terrible. He has opted for the neck gator version of this, and I'm still failing my Price is Right audition. Fuck it. Voted the best podcast by our peers in the Hockey Podcast Network. Follow Tom and Wags on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Blue Notes Pod, and be sure to subscribe to Blue Notes wherever you get your podcasts from. This is Tom Franklin reminding you to not be a chump and always play to the whistle.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Rant. This is episode 79. This, of course, is where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings have a home. Mike, let me bring you in here. I kept you off because I was like, let's just make this a smooth transition. I'll just jump. Hey, there he is! Uh-oh!
Came out of the ground like a dwarf in a potato. Man, what a big day, huh? It's the day after your birthday.
Yeah!
Happy birthday
to me.
How old are you now? 32?
Yeah, I did have to do the math yesterday. It just doesn't matter anymore.
Nope.
Like, the difference of your 20, because I saw in my time hop, I don't know if anybody has a time hop, where you see like your old tweets and Facebook posts, but I actually posted, it's my 21st birthday, the last birthday that matters. Like, think about how smart I was back then. I said that. Like, it wasn't somebody telling me. It wasn't somebody in my post saying, happy birthday, this is the last one that matters. I knew it was the last one that was going to matter. Because after 21, it's just your every day just gets you closer and closer to the icy grip of death.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, you're 32, Matt. If you were an unrestricted free agent, no one would give a shit. You'd still be out there.
I'd be in Bobby Ryan's situation.
Ooh,
Yeah.
A 1-year deal with the worst team in the history of the National Hockey League. What an exciting time for you.
I do want to talk about that because I think everybody's starting to get on my side. And it's in regards to how much of a better idea that is for players to sign with, like, God damn you. I've got a puppy mug too.
Oh, cool. Is that Milo?
Yeah.
Is he dabbing?
Yeah, he's dabbing. So real quick, because this isn't on our show notes, but it does kind of relate to something we want to talk about with Steve Yzerman.
Yeah.
Why aren't players doing what Bobby Ryan's doing? Because he's got some control in the trade clause by the end. Once we get to the trade deadline, he isn't going to be with a team that's maybe like accidentally signed with a team that's marginally playoff contender kind of thing, and then maybe they miss, and he's going to stick with them because they're not in the position to move a player. But if Bobby Ryan signs with the Red Wings, he is certainly not going to the playoffs with the Red Wings. It's a 1-year deal. He's making money, and it's a smaller deal where, you know what, those paychecks, Mike, coming in every day or every 2 weeks are still like $25,000 every 2 weeks. So it's not like he's struggling.
Those checks are bouncing. Little Caesars is doing great.
Right. And he gets free pizza.
They deliver now.
But he signs that contract with the Red Wings, and he wants to go to Tampa Bay or, Boston or something at the trade deadline. That's what he just says. No, these are the teams I will be traded to. These are the only teams I will allow you to trade me to. And sure, the Red Wings get hurt a little bit on that, but it's just like, and here we're supposed to just, blindly cheer for Detroit, which go us. But from a player's perspective, it seems like a much better opportunity. So, and of course, the Red Wings are just chock full of flexibility, but a ton of flexibility for the player, I think.
Right. What I like too is
we lost all of our viewers on this tirade. I just noticed we went from 6 to 0.
We done. I don't want to see a dab in Milo. Get this crap off. With Bob, we'll go with Bob. The other thing that I really like about him joining a poo-poo Red Wings team is, he's going to get power play opportunities. He's going to be on, probably the second line, maybe the first line as soon as our top guys get injured, like they do every year. Yeah. So as far as on a prove it deal, he gets to put on the resume. Well, I was a first line forward this season. I don't know if you saw that. I also dominated the Red Wings power play points. We're kind of grading on a curve, but I see a power play leader. Good, sir. How about 8 years, $8 million? Huh? Who's with me?
Up until he's 40, right?
It's a little bit like Juan Gonzalez on the Tigers. It's a little bit like Adrian Peterson on the Lions. Just kind of, I'm gonna join this garbage team and kind of show my mettle. Obviously, a little bit different situation. I think that Bobby Ryan respects Yzerman as opposed to the other two players signing here and laughing. But you know what I'm getting at. You get an opportunity to shine on a poop team.
So the age difference between Le'Veon Bell and Adrian Peterson is quite vast. But, we just saw what a hot commodity he was once he became available. So if the Lions are picking up Adrian Peterson and going, hey, we might be able to move him at the trade deadline, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think that works. It just turns out he's one game, and then, that was it. So yes, here's our Detroit Lions talk. It's Sunday. It's fine, right?
Yeah.
All right, Mike. So I feel like I don't know if our dad wants us to tell this story, but I feel like our dad today, because I'm wearing my new Red Wings shirt I got from my wifey. Ooh. And I got the 2020 NHL draft cap, which I was super stoked to get.
Draft cap?
Yeah, that's what the players get when they're drafted by the Detroit.
I thought it was like remember that year the Red Wings. They didn't really. I think they were kicked out in the first round, but they won the President's Trophy, and there was like a 2000 whatever Red Wings President's Trophy hat. That's what I thought you were doing, like Red Wings 4th overall pick hat. something to hang up in the rafters at Little Caesars Arena. That
Yeah.
was the fourth pick.
Lottery pick. That's what. Well, so I feel like, I don't know if you remember Dad meeting Matt Millen and Marty Morningweg at Buddy's Pizza. I just told my wife this story for the first time, and it's one of the So this is the thing. This is a memory, Mike, that I have of Dad and will have of Dad forever, and I wasn't even there. I got told this story later.
You weren't there?
And I was not there.
Oh, wow.
But because we've heard the story so many times, and because I could picture it, you could feel the emotion of our dad. Dad, I'm sorry. He can throw in. There's only. I'm pretty sure that's not Dad watching. It was his birthday, and I believe at the time this was Matt Millen just making his first coaching decision. So he's new to the job, and Marty Morningweg, who's going to raise the bar, is at Buddy's Pizza. Those two celebrating, toasting slices of dough. And our dad got Detroit Lions gloves, I think, and a hat, or just gloves.
I honestly don't remember that one. I just remember when Steve Mariucci was at Buddy's Pizza.
Oh, okay. So you've got a whole nother.
Yeah, I was there for that one. Like, we went and said hi to him, and they were both kind of like, hi. But I don't know. It was kind of an underwhelming story because they were terrible at their jobs, and we just met a couple of bums.
I'll go to the Marty Morningweg story, and so the reason I feel like Dad right now, because I'm wearing all my new stuff, is, and this is where Dad loves telling the story, or he probably hates telling this part, but he just ran up to them with his new Detroit Lions gloves, and without introducing himself or saying, "Hi, Mr. Millen, hi, Mr. Morningweg," he just showed him the gloves and said, "Look what I got for my birthday."
Oh, no. Poor Dad.
Yeah, I mean, Dad tells the story. He grinds his teeth. Sorry, Dad, I just told the story, but it's one of my favorite. Like, the reaction to be sitting there as Matt Millen and Marty Morningweg enjoying your slices of Buddy's Pizza, and just have a grown man run up and show off his brand new Detroit Lions gloves. But here I am showing off my brand new Detroit Red Wings stuff. And this, you know what? This is my wife nailing it, because I was gonna get some new stuff, because I thought I need more than just the same 5 shirts I think I've been wearing since we started the podcast. Because I've got the jerseys, right? But it's so hot in this office right now. I do have a space heater, but this is perfect. She just filling up my closet with more Red Wings stuff. I love it. All right, Mike. Should we continue the bantering? Because I know. Why don't we give you some time? I was thinking. You said you got the new NHL game. Why don't I pick that up too? And we'll
I was gonna say I got this for your birthday.
What?
You
bought it for your
birthday.
You bought it for yourself for my birthday.
Yes.
Well,
I just assumed that you would buy it, and so now that I own it, now we can play each other, and you can throttle me in this game. So that's my birthday gift to you.
My fear, and the fear could not be more real, because
if by some chance I won a game.
Yes. This is the game that I've submitted my name for tournaments. I've only lost online like twice, but I also I'm more of a franchise mode guy. So even though my record is pretty nice, I'm sure the matchmaking puts me in a position to do pretty good since I've only played, like a handful of times online. But if we have our good buddy Brent, who we play Warzone with, and Dead by Daylight. I am so scared that he would just, like a fish to water or no, is it a horse to water? I don't know. Yeah. What's a fish in water? Yeah. Like I don't want him to get a hold of the NHL game and then it just be like second nature to him. And he's just tearing me up, even though he's never played a hockey game before. Between the three of us, I know I should win, but you watch people play games and you just tell yourself, you know what? I don't focus on this game. I'm good at this other game. Yeah. But God damn, if I lose to you guys, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. I've been telling myself for years, like, this is just all right. Moving on. I'll get it, and then we can judge it a little bit better after that. Okay. So, Red Wings talk. All right, we've got a Steve Yzerman interview that's post free agency, draft, even the Vladdy Namestinikov signing. So I thought we could jump into this stuff. We could go like a little light and fluffy, and then I thought one of these comments that Steve made actually brings us into a Tyler Bertuzzi conversation, who has filed for arbitration. We failed to mention this on last week's episode, but I think the hour and a half that we ended up going, I think everybody got enough Red Wings content without us going, oh, Abdelkader was bought out, and Bertuzzi filed for arbitration, which in the end could mean very little to the grand scheme of things. But that's where the Steve Yzerman conversation comes in, because Mike, what do we do here? We don't sit here and just say like, oh, this player's better than this player, and we're gonna base it off these couple of games that I can throw off the top of my head. We're going to listen to Steve Yzerman's words and then judge the philosophical meaning behind it.
All right. Beautiful.
But we're going to start light and fluffy here. So we're going to go with the Detroit Allure. So this is Steve Yzerman being interviewed. Got this off of from the Detroit Freep Press, who was nice enough to let me steal
opportunity to play, no question. You talk to Thomas Grace, like, you're going to play a lot, and Bobby Ryan, we need great shot forwards to play on the power play. It's a great opportunity. Vlad, Vlad, he can play any of the 3 forward positions. So you're getting an opportunity to play, take advantage of that opportunity, even on a short-term contract, set yourself up for the next one. But I also believe the other lure, not just the opportunity. I believe the players are intrigued to play for an original 6 franchise and play for the Red Wings. That's what I believe. And, a player like John Merrill, he's played here and, I think he was with the U18 program or grew up in the area. These kids, they know the area and, they know the city, and it's a great place to play. So I think there is an allure to playing here in Detroit.
I think off the bat,
original 6 franchise.
I don't know if you've heard, our franchise is really old. So,
all right, I will say I do own some original 6 apparel, hats, shirts, sweatshirts.
I would really, really like to see like the GM of the Vegas Golden Knights do something similar. We're actually one of the original 31 teams, Seattle. Seattle, number 32.
So, they're so effed. Oh my god! Can you imagine?
I would pay a lot of money to watch that. I would do pay-per-view to watch the GM of Vegas talk about how great it is to be part of an original 31 team.
You know what I love right now too is that I titled this a conversation with Steve Yzerman, and somebody who's scrolling through Twitter or maybe this YouTube popped up and they see him talking. They're like, oh my god, they have fucking Steve Yzerman on right now. Holy shit.
Tune in.
All right, so I called that one the light and fluffy one because really there wasn't too much, and we want to.
Yeah, it's kind of stuff we just touched on where you kind of get to be an prove-it deal. It's short term. You get to be you basically get a showcase because there's not a lot of, we're not just surrounded by talent that's NHL ready right now. So you're gonna look amazing. Pad your stats, build your resume, and then maybe stick around if you like it, and if not, we'll find a way to move you to a playoff team. So. But yeah, Steve with the original 6, he literally put his nose up at the rest of the NHL.
Yeah, if you're not watching on YouTube, that was basically that it was
he literally turned his nose up.
Yeah,
he
thank you.
literally turned his nose up.
So
If you
we're
got-
gonna keep them.
yeah.
We're gonna keep them light and fluffy because the last two really transition into our next show topic. But here's a conversation on Bobby Ryan and Vladdy that Steve had. A conversation. Here's a blip of
Yeah.
a long interview.
You know, I don't know that he's played the left side at all in his career, but I certainly don't see any reason why he wouldn't. But you know what? Honestly, they can play anywhere up and down the lineup. We'll see where it goes. Vladdy has played all three forward positions. And I'm sure, you know, I haven't really sat down with Jeff and gotten his opinion or his thoughts on where everybody's going to play. We've got time to do that. And once all the kind of the dust settles, we'll get a chance to sit down and discuss it. Ultimately, he'll decide that. But, you know, I say Vladdy can play any of the three forward positions. He can play on both special teams. And I see him playing, you know, any one of our four lines. He can play in a checking role. He's a pretty versatile player, and Bobby can go play with any of these lines as well and play on the power play. So, you know, to say which line, you know, I try to stay away from first line, second line, third line, fourth line, but I think Bobby can play in any type of offensive role and on the power play. And I see Vladdy playing really in any situation.
So I liked what he said there. It actually mirrors a lot of our highest watched and rated YouTube video that came out right after Vladdy signed. I had to throw something together last week because I was like, fuck, we just put out a new podcast episode that does not talk about arguably, you know, the maybe the best signing for a team to like go up in the standings like that. That to me, again, in that video I put together, I'm kind of making the assertion like, okay, these other signings filled out a team and we have some flexibility for trading later. You know, we can pick up some draft picks, but Namestinikov to me was now this team's better. And when Yzerman's talk about playing on either side of the ice, what I actually took a look at with Namestinikov was his advanced analytics, Mike. And again, go to the YouTube channel and watch this video. He's actually better than our other forwards in the defensive side of the game, where it's blocking shots, throwing your body around, checking, hitting, you know, however you want to throw that. And he's also better than a lot of our forwards on the team. And in that regard, he's the second best center in both of these statistics I'm talking about. So blocking shots, hitting, and then if he were compared from last season's numbers to all the Red Wings numbers. So on the defensive side, those are kind of the best way to compare that. But then if you're talking about winning possession battles and getting more shots on net and those high danger scoring chances, he would be number 2 on the team in those statistics as well. So it's like the Namestnikov signing is bigger than I think people are giving it credit for, because that's a signing where it's not just filling the team. It's bringing in a guy who's in the prime of his career, like from a statistical basis, like you have like that 25 to 27 range, depending on whenever the next season starts. But you've also upgraded him to being like one of the better players through advanced analytics on your team, like to get the puck on the net. So I want to say, if you want to take a look at those numbers with us, head on over to the Brothers of Discussion YouTube page. Again, it's our highest rated video, and people loved it and they asked for more. So I think that's a good enough review for me to say you might like it as well if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah, I mean, not too much together from this one. So now they're getting juicy. Now let's talk Steve Yzerman short-term deals. Unless, Mike, did you want to touch on Bobby and Vladdy on what Steve's saying there?
I guess the only thing to, kind of harp on, it's something we touched on last week, and, for getting a guy in his prime like this, and he's willing to probably take a little bit of a pay cut, I'd say. It's just attributed to Steve Yzerman, who it just sounds like guys want to play for him. Guys like talking to him. And we tease about the, playing for an original 16, playing in Detroit. I think he can't say it, but we can say it for him. It's more about playing for Steve, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that this is our GM going forward. And I think besides liking these moves, it also bodes well for future moves. So we want to get people they're going to want to play for him. But yeah, we can move on to the next clip here.
And I want to throw this one out there. It's kind of like last week we talked about Steve Yzerman's words to Chris Draper in regards to the draft of Keenan, and how he said, "Hey, their jobs are on the line. They know that if they're not making decisions that benefit this franchise, then they're gone." Those are maybe not verbatim, but that's what Steve said about the Keenan Draper draft. That's first it was a little bit of a tickle on his tummy, and then he said that. So now,
did Chris know jobs are on the line before he submitted the draft pick?
Right. He that's what they asked him.
Wait, what?
On his press conference, they said, "Yeah, Steve said your job's on the line with this draft, so put that in perspective to drafting your son." And Chris actually, his jaw dropped and he started drooling, and he picked up his cell phone. He actually got on the line with Gary Bettman and was like, "Hey, how
would one go about undoing a pick?
Is the 7th round, can we restart it? Because I know we picked first."
I thought we were mocking.
No, we didn't mean that one. No.
I thought we were mocking.
No. Yeah. No. God, did you see the draft grades on him? No, we didn't mean to draft him. All right, let's start over. That's fine. Just go to any of the outlets for the Detroit Red Wings. You can see that that Chris Draper reaction. All right, let's talk short-term deals from Stevie. This is again from that same interview with the Freep.
Gives you the flexibility to do a lot of different things. When you get into the longer-term contracts, generally they're like you're locked into them, and obviously when you sign players, we all hope that they perform well and justify the signing of the contract. I think we're just trying to move cautiously, and in the climate we're in, with uncertainty with our salary cap in years to come, we just felt like this is a good way to go. We're prepared to sign players to longer term contracts. But we're going to be careful in including our own players, re-signing our own players. We're going to just move slowly for the time being and be careful about handing out long-term deals.
So now do you see where I'm saying this is getting juicy? Because we know Bertuzzi's in arbitration or filed for arbitration, and Yzerman is blatantly stating our own players, we want to be careful with what's going on. Now, arbitration is a whole new bag of worms. It's actually, you know what? We should just have. I think Steve can give us a little bit of insight too on what's going on with Bertuzzi. We'll play that one, and then I want to jumble the conversation on both of these together.
Or what it is, but it's both of our intentions to get a deal done, and likewise with Tyler. The thing he filed for arbitration. Ultimately, we know we're going to get a contract done. It may be for 1 year, or maybe longer. So, where it stands, we'll continue to talk, and with Tyler, I'm sure they're preparing for arbitration just like we are.
Just a quick little snippet of advertisements from the Freep right there.
Hell yeah.
So the result of this arbitration, I think a lot of people were kind of in the same boat where they're like, all right, usually these arbitration filings mean nothing. But I think there is a lot to what Steve Yzerman's saying in regards to these short-term deals and trying to figure things out and treading carefully, because it's not like you look at an Anthony Mantha or a Tyler Bertuzzi and say, this is the easiest thing in the world to find. So I think what we're going to be gathering here is that they certainly are treading carefully, and they're trying to play this the Red Wings way. And I think the days of doing favors for these guys because they've turned in a couple of hot seasons is gone. And I just there is a conversation to be had about what's going on with Bertuzzi. And I think a lot of people were ready to write off this idea that either there's a conspiracy behind it of sometimes I was reading about this online, so I'm not I don't believe in this conspiracy that Yzerman would ask Bertuzzi, or the Red Wings are asking Bertuzzi to file for arbitration. And then there's the idea that this is just them prolonging negotiations to make things more on the Red Wings side for ownership of those rights on the restricted free agent side. I think there really is a breakdown in the negotiations here. I don't think it's one of these things where they're playing these games with the NHL. I think Yzerman is playing the game that he wants to win a Stanley Cup. And, forgive me, because I've seen it done with other podcasts and other videos. And Bertuzzi is better than just an advocator. So now you know where I'm going with this. But I don't want to see a guy who was put on the first line for an NHL franchise and the output looks pretty good. But don't forget that he also comes with the minutes of a first line player. He gets the opportunities of a first line player. He's getting power play opportunities. So I don't want to find out that we inflated those statistics and then we don't actually have a top six forward here, especially in a situation where do you want to put yourself in these long-term contracts where, again, Bertuzzi's better than Abdelkader, but we just bought out Abdelkader's contract, and that's going to hurt us for a little while now. We're still going to feel it for 6 years? Or
yeah, I'll pull that up for you. Hold on.
Yeah. So long story short, I think there is more to this, especially based off Yzerman's words, where he made sure that we understood, like, he's trying to get these deals as short as, maybe as flexible and manageable as possible. I don't want to say as short as possible, because it could be something where maybe he's trying to come in with Bertuzzi and say, hey, I want to do this. I want to do a longer term deal, but this is the money I'm willing to give you. And I don't know. It just, to me, if it was Anthony Mantha, I think there's more. I think you could tell yourself there's more to the Anthony Mantha signing of like what you're going to get potential wise. I think there's more there. There's more human there, Mike. There's more size to Anthony Mantha, and damn it all to hell. Even if Bertuzzi's got those statistics, the analytics side with Anthony Mantha, and I also have another thing I want to talk about later in the show, where there was a list from the Sportsnet that listed the top 10 restricted free agents, and Anthony Mantha was left off that list, but Tyler Bertuzzi made it. Am I crazy? Like, did we really just go through last season and not see what can happen when Anthony Mantha's healthy? And again, no hate for Tyler Bertuzzi. I got into a discussion last night about Tyler Bertuzzi, and I just want everyone to know I don't hate Bertuzzi. I just think there's some there's more questions to what his career is going to look like long term than I think Anthony Mantha, where I think the question is health, right? And I just, for both of these guys, I still question whether or not they're long term pieces of the core, which also puts into question how long is it going to take for this team to build a core. But God, there's so many buts involved with this, because I'm trying to tread lightly, because in no way do I hate Tyler Bertuzzi. Absolutely, he has a place on this team. Absolutely, I want him to get signed. But I think it's almost a disservice to what the situation is and who Tyler Bertuzzi is to just throw aside the arbitration conversation and say it's definitely just this is just how these things go. This is routine, I think. Because if it was routine, every single player would go through arbitration. I think once you're in arbitration, that whole scenario is routine from a sense. But am I rambling? Am I making any sense here? Am I grasping at anything that is a semblance, that has some sort of semblance to an idea?
No, I think when I initially listened to the clip, for me it just kind of sounded like we're willing to sign the Bobby Ryans, we're willing to sign the Namestinikovs if it's a short-term deal. But yeah, kind of after hearing what you're saying and in conjunction with the Bertuzzi news, I think if you do read the tea leaves a little bit, I think you are onto something, that they are alluding to, we don't want a Bertuzzi mortgage, or at least he hasn't proven that we want a Bertuzzi mortgage at this time. What we saw this past season is what can happen is, with Bertuzzi as one of your top line guys, and how the offense runs. And it was not super impressive. He's fine. I don't not want him on the team, but it's not at the level Mantha is, where when he's well, I think that they're, justifying that risk is worth, the potential. You saw, they, opened up with a lot of points. I mean, that scoring goals, and then they were winning games when Mantha was feeling right. And Mantha could, he's proven that he could be a point, almost a point a night guy. And Bertuzzi's good, but I don't think he's at that point where you got to make that decision if you want to sign the mortgage or not. And they just don't have enough information to do that. They don't have enough to justify it at this point.
Right. And that is the best. What you just said is the perfect point. Like, if this was routine, no, the routine thing is Bertuzzi signing a long-term contract because Yzerman sees potential in him. He says, no, this guy is a piece of my core. I think that is routine. I don't think calling arbitration, again, I think what was misinterpreted is I saw some folks with a lot of influence in the Detroit Red Wings community saying that, don't worry, guys, this is routine. I think the misuse of that word, I think what they're trying to say was that this entire process is routine. I don't think, again, right? Because we'd all go to arbitration, right? If it was routine, we'd all be going to arbitration. I like how you put it. We are certainly reading the tea leaves, but right. More routine would be we see Bertuzzi had signed a long-term deal worth a lot of money because he's a piece of this core. And that's where all the issues are coming up. I've seen some of the dollar amounts that are in the $5 million range for Bertuzzi. I don't know how many years you want to pay that out and eventually have him turn into a middle six or worse on your lineup. And that's where these issues start to pop up. And Yzerman stated it pretty clearly. He wants that flexibility. He likes these short-term deals. So if Bertuzzi wants that money, maybe it's, that's where the arbitration makes this a little bit easier. Maybe a 1-year contract is what comes out of this. And Bertuzzi's got to prove himself just like everybody else. But yeah, let's pull back on the whole idea this was supposed to happen. I guess if we're talking fate, yeah, if we're going to play the signs game with Mel Gibson, yeah, this was all supposed to happen because here we are and it happened. But I guess I just want to say there is more to look at with this. And I think I made my point, what I'm trying to say. I blatantly stated or questioned whether or not Bertuzzi's a piece of this core. All right, Mike, we gotta do some business here because a piece of my core in my bathroom now is my lawnmower 3.0. It is keeping me high and tight and dry. It's I mean, the entire package that you get from Manscaped, along with the lawnmower 3.0, is keeping me fresh, smelling good. You've got the ball deodorant. You've got that little spray that I really like that they recommend if you're feeling a little low, spray, get a little spritz down there, and it lightens your day right up. It does the job. I'll say that. I'm not sure what it's doing, but the smell and wafting up from my core wow. is definitely one of the eye openers, I think, to my morning. But I mean, the main tool here is that lawnmower 3.0, which you can get the package from Manscaped and manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping if you use the promo code THPN. That, of course, is in reference to the Hockey Podcast Network. So use promo code THPN, get 20% off and free shipping on this beautiful tool that has the 7,000 RPM motor. Mike, it's got that LED light to light up where the sun don't shine. What's my little line? Avoid the tickle, clean up that pickle.
Yeah.
Something like that. Avoid the tickle, clean up that pickle, because this thing will not miss a hair. And you can really go to town on it because you're going to miss all the stop having to worry about all those nicks and cuts and stuff, because this thing really is doing the trick. So that's the Lawnmower 3.0. I love it. Mike, we've been talking about it for months. You can't go wrong. That's promo code THPN for 20% off and free shipping so that you can avoid that tickle while you clean up your pickle.
Absolutely.
All right. Mike, we haven't gotten any questions in the chat. So if anybody's listening and they want to talk about Tyler Bertuzzi being a piece of this core, obviously throw that in there. But we're also running low on topics. So where do we want to go, Mike? Because I know I'm kind of taking over here, and I kind of skipped over one of my own topics, and now we're in the second half of our show here. Do you want to jump into our Atlantic Division check-in?
Yeah, I guess because, the consensus around the league is that, Steve Yzerman did a really good job in the offseason, and I think we're part of that consensus. Making a lot of smart, brainy moves, for
flexible.
A lot of cap flexibility. Players, they could play on the first line, second line, hell, even maybe the fourth or third line. It's really up there. If we had a fifth line, they could play there as well. They're cheap deals, they're short deals. So these are guys you could potentially move at the deadline if you're still cratering at the bottom of the league. And if not, you got some guys who want to prove it and then make, big money on their next deal, which is what Steve said. So we're trying to kind of look at the Atlantic Division, and the Red Wings had their historically awful amount of points in the win-loss tie column. So not necessarily to include draft picks, because those are kind of more, what's going to happen in future seasons to come. But Matt,
yes,
based on what we've done and based on what other teams have done, at least in the Atlantic Division, maybe not the entire NHL, are we still the worst team in the Atlantic?
Well, I like your list here because it makes a lot of sense. Because you have the Sabres, the Ottawa Senators, and the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I didn't bother with the Stanley Cup champions.
Right.
No, we're not better than them. We're certainly not better than Boston. And Toronto, I would not include either.
I do like how you started it though. Taking a look at the Sabres, like how do you say that we can like there's a lot that goes into us catching up to the Sabres with the signing of Taylor Hall, because there's a lot of desperation that goes in there. You've got Jack Eichel. We just dissected what Steve Yzerman said, but man, if the Buffalo Sabres franchise podcast had to dissect what Jack Eichel was trying to say in every interview, Jesus Christ, that well, actually, it's pretty simple. He just throws out there, "Get me the fuck out of here." So that's there's not a lot of philosophy or tea leaf reading in there. So there's a lot of desperation behind, I think, the signing of Taylor Hall. This is something that Jack Eichel needs so that he can believe in this franchise and stick around. So they need to be better. And I don't know if the Red Wings need to be better. So that I think absolutely comes into play, right? We don't need to be better. We know we're not ready to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, they're clearly trying to appease him.
Right.
We got the best forward on the market, and we're just going to give him 1 year.
So let me just keep moving down, because we've also got the Ottawa Senators, who I thought have made a lot of great moves. And I like the question that you put on here is, like, Stützle going to affect the Ottawa Senators? So I think if the Senators are lucky enough to get Stützle in that lineup, I just don't know what the is he ready to go? I don't know how this is going to work either. Like, are we going to get a full exhibition season so that they can figure that out? But I mean, like, ultimately, we're the ones who had 17 wins, right? So we're the ones that have to crawl out farther than the Ottawa Senators did, but they also have Matt Murray now. From the Hockey Podcast Network's perspective and Senzauer podcast, that Evgeny Dedonov was somebody that our Senzauer podcast was excited to pick up. So I don't know if there's enough with what the Red Wings have done to say that we're making moves to only improve the team, where I think the Senators are they are doing those moves. So we've still got the Vladdy Namestinikov signing that puts us in that. I said that's the signing where it's like, okay, this team is surely upgraded. I think you could make the argument too with Bobby Ryan, but I think there's a whole new mess of worms in regards to why that signing actually happened. So Ottawa Senators, I think, are still like, if we improved, if we're going to say that we've done enough to improve, I think the Ottawa Senators have. So have we leapfrogged the Ottawa Senators? I think it's possible based on the parity in this league, but I wouldn't stamp it and say Yzerman has done enough here to make sure that we're not 31st in the league. Because, I mean, the other teams are putting in signings, right? So I think there's a possibility that we could leapfrog the Ottawa Senators, but that's only because the struggle's real for both of these franchises. And then Montreal, I think, has also done enough to, like, I guess, to stay above Detroit. So that makes it a tough conversation to sit here and go, well, we're in store for another 8th place finish. But I think, when we say the struggle's real, I think Yzerman would agree. He didn't come out and say, 2-year window, I'm going to get you guys a Stanley Cup. Fuck it. Let's do this. Like, we're in it for the long haul. And I don't anticipate seeing Lucas Raymond. So, I mean, that's our top prospect right now, easily. So are we really expecting a huge jump up if we're not even going to see Lucas Raymond play? I don't think you could say that. So without that happening, I think there's a lot that would need to come together for the Red Wings to go, yay, we're not in 8th place in the Atlantic. I think there's a team that's better than a 17 win in a 62 game season for the Detroit Red Wings. There's definitely a better team here. And I think over the last 2 episodes, we've made the argument that this team is better. But the other teams around us at the bottom of the division have also made the moves to move up. So I don't know if you can go into this season and hope for more than just a decrease in like the +4 goal losses. Like I think what we're going to see is a team that can finish a little bit more. What do I want to say? More responsible play on the defensive side than we saw last year. So these games aren't going to get so out of hand. And I think we really did see the end of Jimmy Howard's career, which probably played a lot into like what was going on there. I don't think it was just Jimmy Howard not getting any defense in front of him. I think we did witness the end of that career, even though he's going to keep playing. So you've upgraded goaltending. You have a more steady defense. I just, it wasn't like we went out and picked up, Pietrangelo. So we didn't upgrade from an elite status. I think we just upgraded to kind of make sure, if we're going to put it in perspective, let's say we're putting some more sandbags up against the wall of waves coming at us. This year we have more sandbags. We invested in that regard. Because we talked about it last week, right? Didn't we went through the list of, is John Merrill coming in and becoming a piece of this core? Absolutely not. This was icing a team, as Steve Yzerman puts it. This is giving us some flexibility. So sure, he might stick around. He might earn another contract for another couple of years, but I'll stick with that. And man, I've been rambling for a while. I don't know if you're ready to jump in, but
we're not objectively better than the Sabres, so no. I'm pretty jealous of their moves. I think we're maybe a year or 2 away from doing something like that. Just giving somebody a big, 1 year, like Bobby Ryan, but like a guy in his prime. As far as Ottawa goes, I mean, were they a Matt Murray away from being decent?
Right, and that's where I say,
you envy that move.
If there's no, not at all. If there's opportunity to move up, I think that's where it's going to happen. Ottawa. I don't know if you could, like, nobody in their right mind, like, you could make the argument, sure, you can jump over the Sabres because why? Because they're the Sabres. They fuck everything up every year. So somebody's going to get hurt, and yeah, they'll be near the bottom of the standings. But
our only chance is really Ottawa this year.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is a legitimate argument you could make. I don't know if you look at the Taylor Hall signing and there's somebody who could jump on right now and make the argument that because they signed Taylor Hall, the Red Wings are now better than them. It doesn't make sense to make that argument for a team that had 17 wins. I think
No.
like that, if we're going to judge it by, what has just happened in this offseason, again, I think it's fine to say the Red Wings upgraded, and that's what you want to see. You want to see us not get destroyed by 4+ goals.
Yeah, I mean,
a ton.
We just basically plugged, the what is it, that the German doughboy with the holes in the ship, and you just try and put fingers in all the holes. So we had a lot of holes last year, and there wasn't a lot you could do if you had a roster coming in that was talent depleted, and like all your defensemen got hurt. So this year now we've just stacked the roster with tons of defensemen, tons of extra guys. I don't know how we're gonna have looks like we're going to field a top, or I guess ice. We're going to ice a top 8 defense with all these guys Yzerman's acquired, and still try and make room for like a Mo Seider cameo here and there. They've tried to overdo it, and I don't think they're going to be historically bad this year. And I'm not super impressed with what Ottawa's putting out there. I think we have a chance to beat them. The only other team that I put out there that was kind of fun is because they couldn't handle the Red Wing buzzsaw last year was Montreal. But I love their Toffoli signing. I'm pretty jealous of that. I don't know if this Toffoli move is was it the GM looking across the country lines and seeing how they can figure out how to beat the Red Wings for once, and is Toffoli that player?
I think with what Montreal has built, I mean, what happened on like TSN this past week is the claim was made that Montreal now has a better team than could eclipse the Toronto Maple Leafs in the standings, and I think a lot of that is based off of the struggles last season. So I'm going to say if on TSN they brought up the conversation, has Montreal done enough to go past Toronto? I mean, if I had to pick a team that's better, I'm sticking with Toronto. I don't care what their defensive struggles are. They can figure that out. You can just keep rolling the dice on a team with all this offensive firepower, and eventually it's going to work out. But if you're going to start that conversation, I think that means there's enough there, right? So I'm not going to claim to know more than what's going on TSN. But I will say, if that conversation's starting and there's actually some bozo who wants to say Montreal's done enough to jump Toronto in the standings, I think that means that we are far enough behind that we won't be able to jump over Montreal.
The one thing with Montreal and Toronto, Toronto's just jinxed by being Toronto. So I think that's maybe where Montreal has a chance to leapfrog. But this Toronto Maple Leaf team is like the most 2002 Detroit Red Wings team I've ever seen. And I mean, besides being led by superstars like, Austin Matthews, John Tavares, and Mitch Marner, namely their re-signing of Jason Spezza and Joe Thornton at 41. I thought he wanted to win a cup. Why is he going to Toronto, Matt? I don't understand. They screwed up in the playoffs every season.
I thought it's funny that the definition of insanity. So they're going to try again with an aging San Jose Sharks forward after Patrick Morrow didn't work out. Now the price makes a little bit more sense this time with Joe, because I think he's at the basement.
What line is Joe playing on?
I saw what they were putting together. I saw some different pieces put together with third or fourth line. So he's a bottom 6, but I mean that's quite a bottom 6 to have to include Joe Thornton on there, because they again, this is a team that's stacked with offensive talent. So if you can bring in who they're all reasonably young still, the core of this team.
Yeah.
If you can bring in a guy who's gonna bring in that. The desperation again, I'll use that word as we were using it for the Sabres and picking up Taylor Hall. But if you're going to bring in a guy that adds in that desperation for a Stanley Cup, and I don't think Toronto, I don't think there's that element that's missing from Toronto. But when you add like that individual, and you've got skill, you've got the hockey IQ that he can pass along, and he is an incredibly good guy to have in the room. And goddamn, do I fucking hate hearing that. But it does make a lot of sense for the Maple Leafs, who are coming off having Babcock in the room, who was trying to put Mitch Marner in situations where everybody would hate him. So I think the change to go from, and obviously what Joe Thornton's being asked to do is very different from like what Mike Babcock was doing, but to change the room to, take out Babcock, bring in Joe Thornton does a lot for them. I just don't, you don't look at that move and say Stanley Cup contender. You already could reasonably say that about the Maple Leafs. So you've added to a Stanley Cup contender. I think their results and the fact that we look at, 2 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, we were still putting them at the top of those lists of like, yeah, this is for sure a team that could challenge for, winning the division. So that doesn't go away just because the results weren't as great as we thought. Like, there's still all of that talent there. So, and you have a year of learning. I don't know why that. Right. I mean, we're Red Wings fans. We saw what happens in the early 90s and then what it turns into. So the more you learn, the better those chances are to win that cup. So, if anything, that conversation again on TSN was silly. You know what, Mike? This is what we can talk about as two guys that don't follow the Toronto Maple Leafs religiously. Same thing with the Montreal Canadiens and Ottawa Senators and Buffalo Sabres. But I think to wrap up the whole conversation, I think it's pretty easy to say that you can be more optimistic for what the results will be win-wise for this season, but to look at what this division just did and then say we're going to be moving up in the standings. I think if somebody laughed at you and said, no, that's not happening, that's okay. That's probably like, that's right on the money. Like it's yeah, I hate saying the same words over and over, but the reasonable expectation is that we are at the bottom of the division standings again.
Yeah.
And we could have only analyzed what the Red Wings have done and still been pretty accurate with that because we're coming off of one of the worst seasons ever for a hockey team. So you got to do a lot of fixing.
Well, the one thing too, I was just going to bring up is looking at, comparing the Red Wings to the two rosters of Montreal and Toronto, we're a lot closer to being Montreal instead of Toronto. And I guess the reason I say that is not because we have, Carey Price in that, but Toronto's so top heavy. They have three guys that they're paying over $10 million a year at forward, in Austin, Tavares, and Mitch. And then they just fill out the rest of their forwards with guys who are, barely minimum deals. And I'm including Spezza and Thornton in that list. Whereas Montreal, like their highest paid forward is at $5.5 million, which I think is something the Red Wings would do cartwheels for, to have, maybe Larkin and Mantha making that kind of money. So we're just closer to that because I don't think we have a guy you could justify giving, an eighth of your cap space to, let alone three guys, gobbling up, such a large chunk. And as far as comparing the three and making improvements, the Red Wings easily have, out of the whole NHL, the most flexibility to do whatever they want going forward. But I guess the last, I'll give you a little line change question here, Matt. Would you rather have the Red Wings be closer to Toronto or Montreal, knowing that we are closer to being Montreal?
I heard another podcast actually having this exact conversation, and I absolutely would not, like if I was a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I wouldn't say I hate this team. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I don't like this experiment. Like, it's frustrating, but they are and I go back to that same statement of like, I have no qualms. I have no problem saying, yes, there's still a Stanley Cup contender. There is way too much talent there. Like, if everything comes together the way it was supposed to, we don't even have this conversation. We're just going, all right, 2 years in a row, Toronto Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup. Just there's so many different variables that come into play for the NHL. So if I was to say, would I rather we were all set with our core and we're trying to figure out the other pieces, like Toronto, I think I'd rather be in that situation than say we have a lot of our what do I want to say? Those role players, right? We have the role players all set, but we don't have.
We can roll 4 lines,
right? We don't have the easily recognizable names for marketability. We don't have the guys that for sure put together Hart Trophy candidate seasons. Yeah, like I think it should be an easy Toronto Maple Leafs answer to that question.
Yeah, I'll put my money behind superstars all day, every day.
Yeah, and I think as we move along, and we're not going to know for like 10 years. Was that the wrong move to make? And of course, it's not like Dubas made those decisions going like, oh, COVID's going to become an issue soon, so I better not sign these guys for too much cash. Everything around them was saying the salary is going to keep going up, the salary cap. So is he a moron for like taking that into consideration? No, it just might turn into something where we go, all right, next time we don't do it all on the forward side and hope that something works out from the defensive side. It's just, again, you have all those pieces. They have the flexibility where if they want to get rid of one of those pieces, I just think their problem right now is they're not sure which one of those pieces is becoming like that career Toronto Maple Leaf jersey getting retired, led us to some playoff runs. I think they're too scared right now to make the move on a forward that they can drop, which with how much talent they have on one side of the puck, I think they should be more willing to drop some of that talent. Or they, trade wise, maybe they're just not getting the offers. There's a lot that goes into it, but final thought, I'd much rather be in the Toronto Maple Leafs situation than the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I would much rather have like Yzerman preaches, draft. Drafted Matthews, drafted Mitch, drafted William Nylander. Absolutely. It's fun to be Montreal, and Thomas Tatar is available. Let's snag him. Let's get a little Tyler Toffoli. Instead of having 3 solid lines, if you have 1 mega line, you can win a cup. Oh, hey, Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, they had depth too, like Yzerman built them out. But 1 mega line basically did all the scoring for like 4 rounds in the playoffs. So
that is a tremendous point, because what you saw was what happens when your best players are your best players, right?
Yeah.
So if Toronto is getting the same output from their top 2 lines that Tampa Bay was getting, how are they beatable? Like, it's just, that's where it comes into play of like, all right, we just saw Tampa Bay get knocked out in the first round last year to a Columbus Blue Jackets team that has, definitely had more talent last year than they did this year, but, they still had no business beating Tampa. So how do we look at the same situation and go, no, Toronto's still miles away from cup contention? No, they're right there. They're legitimate cup contenders. And even though we're Red Wings fans here, I have no problem throwing that out there and being jealous of it. I think that's also the normal. That should be like the normal feeling when you look at the Maple Leafs. It's fun to watch them fail, absolutely. But you know why it's so fun to watch them fail? Because we know how much talent they have and how much success they should be enjoying right now. And I absolutely would still love to be in that situation. But we're Mitch Marner and an Austin Matthews and a Tavares and a William Nylander short. So, all right. I will say, out of that list, there are some guys. You know what? We've been going for an hour, and we've been talking about the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens for like 20 minutes, and this is a Red Wings podcast. I think I had some other topics. We can throw. Let me throw this out there for a second. There's this map. I don't know how much there is to dissect, but we could be getting new divisions based off COVID and keeping the Canadians nice and safe, and then limiting the travel in the U.S. So not limiting travel in Canada because they're going to be going across the entire country. But you can see, like, for the Red Wings here, if you guys are just seeing this for the first time, we're pretty much staying, in a north-south direction, pretty tight area. If you take a look at what's mostly like the Metropolitan Division, man, what a nice travel schedule that's going to be. And then when you move out west, you're just kind of like, well, fuck them. Anyway, so, I mean, that's kind of how I saw this at first. Was the West is always just going to be screwed. There's a lot of open space. There's a lot of plains and mountain ranges out there. So there's a lot of teams spread out across that area. And then Canada, yeah, just overall, like, they're going to be safer. But man, just Montreal going all the way to Vancouver is going to suck. But I thought this was interesting. I think it would be kind of neat to set up more like a baseball schedule, like playing these teams like 3 games in a row. Maybe building up some rivalries.
Yeah,
I think when this came out, it was a part of a discussion of some of the GMs actually giving out some information that they probably shouldn't have been giving out. But it goes along with this idea too of a shortened season. So I mean, you play these teams twice, let's say. I don't want to say twice. I mean, you're going to do a 3-game series, maybe a couple of times, or go like 2 games in a row kind of thing, and then do a home and away. I don't think you do them back to back, but yeah, you visit these teams a couple times, and then maybe build up some rivalries. I think a lot of people hated this when they first saw it. I thought it was kind of neat, and it would be kind of fun. It would be funny to see how the playoffs worked out. If I think the joke every year is who is Canada's team, because it's like the one Canadian team that would be left in the playoffs kind of thing. But it would be so sad to go to the playoffs and, all of Canada just knocks themselves out for the entire play. Leading up to like a conference championship, or however you want to like top what the end of the season would look like. There'd be only one Canadian team again against 3 U.S. teams. So it'd be kind of a bummer again for Canada. But they'd have all their everybody rooting for one team who's ever left from that the Canadian division there. Just like that aspect of it, I thought was funny. Like, let's keep these boys safe. But ultimately, I just want to throw that out there because that was like our last topic of the show.
Yeah,
kind of makes sense too.
Either way, it sucks to be Minnesota. Which generally speaking, it sucks to be in Minnesota. But anyway.
Whew.
It's just watching, Prince and Kirby Puckett. Sorry.
I'm watching season 3 of Fargo right now because we want to start watching season 4, and we realized we never finished season 3, which I think at this point is like 3 years old. Yeah. And one of the lines that they throw out in episode 2 is just why there are like mafia groups, like organized crime in Minnesota, and they're like, it's just so bland. It's like you can go there. Nobody's going to suspect anything. You just and of course the business that they're trying to launder money through is a parking garage business, which again, like, would just bore you to tears. So it's I mean, just to your point, that was the main thing the Fargo show said about Minnesota. All right, Mike. I don't know why we're dogging on Minnesota, but this is the end of the show.
Yeah, sucky Minnesota. I don't know.
I had some fun talking today, and hopefully that NHL 21 competition will start soon between the Brothers of Discussion. All right, so find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, and there's Mike holding up his Ovechkin picture. We are on YouTube. We'd appreciate the subscription, and where else? What's the other one? All right, and Instagram. It's brothers_of_discussion. And and the Twitter one is at BOD Hockey. But yeah, follow us on all those different spots and get to know us. We're having fun. We hope everybody else is having fun. Next time, if you're watching us, throw in a goddamn question in the freaking chat, man. We got time. We could have talked to you this whole time. I see somebody's watching right now. So whoever's doing that, you should have thrown in some questions, because now we're wrapping up. Don't do it right now. Just too late. Do it next week. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.